Honorable Malema.
Thank you, CJ. Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
What is the procedure? The procedure is such that a person can write a letter to you to seal documents without any court hearing, and you seal them, and you want to open them through a court hearing when you have not sealed them through a court hearing. Because in this instance, there was just a letter where there was an indication that they said sensitive information, third parties involved, and you sealed it. And then for you to open them, we had to go to court. But for those who wanted you to close them, they didn't go to court. Like you just said now, it was a discussion in the office, and then the documents were closed. So I want to understand, what is the procedure? Do you, for documents that are submitted to a public court, for them to be sealed, are you not supposed to make an application for such documents to be sealed, so that when now there's an counter to that, it can also be made in a public court to argue why those documents should not be sealed?
Commissioner Malema, this matter, there was an issue as to whether the documents should remain sealed or not. The issue was not that the contents of the documents are available to the public, I should seal them. I called the parties and to understand as to exactly what the issue is. And the issue was that those documents should remain sealed. And I told the parties that since the documents are sealed, there's an issue relating to the documents. I'll facilitate that this matter should go to court so that the court can make a ruling. It was a management meeting before me. It was not a court order that I made. It was just a direction that I gave that this is how the matter should proceed, so that the court can hear the matter to get the version of all the parties. The allegation that there were interests of other parties who were involved, those parties were not before me, so that they could also get an opportunity to put their version before the court.
Thank you, CJ. Thank you, CJ and DJP. The Constitutional Court had some strong remarks to make against the Northern High Court about the language that you use against the PP and the personal cost orders. Like it has become fashionable that if a PP's matter appears before your court, there will be some strong language used, including personal costs. Have you attended to that?
Commissioner Malema, in our meetings, we always emphasize that we need to be careful about the language that is used in our judgments. But you can do that up to a certain level, because when the judge sits there, he or she will make his or her decision as to how should the judgment be written. And also regarding the personal cost orders, if I remember well, the Constitutional Court confirmed the personal cost order that was made. The majority of the judges there confirmed the personal cost order that was made, or a punitive cost order that was made, because there were reasons why such a cost order was made, and the higher court can only interfere if there was a serious misdirection in respect of such an order.
Now, the second point, I'm struggling because I don't know those things of how you guys come to decisions of sealing documents. So you went to the office there, you have a meeting, and then you agree there, you seal documents. And the way you sealed them have actually contributed to this big problem we have. where now you have allowed the rumors to be spread and senior judges are being implicated and senior members of society and all of that. Don't you think it could have been handled differently to a point where it will not suggest that there was something that was hidden by sealing those documents? Because as we speak now, anyone who wants to discredit anyone just throws a name that this one is in the CR17 documents, because it was not argued in a proper public order. I mean, in a public court. I mean, there is an issue now at the Zondo Commission. Malusi Gigaba wants the evidence of his ex-wife to be heard in private or not to be heard at all. He's being called to come and argue that publicly as to why that evidence should not be heard publicly or should not be heard at all. That's what we expect the court to do. That when there is someone of the parties who says, no, you can't listen to this part, it must be heard publicly so that there is no impression created that something is being hidden from us. And if that was held in a public court, we wouldn't be where we are, because I think that you should accept that, in my opinion, it was not properly handled.
Commissioner Malema, let me put this into proper perspective. I didn't call the parties and say, I'm going to seal these documents. The legal representatives wrote to me and said, we want to have a meeting with you on this issue. That we want the contents to be available to the parties. They couldn't agree. And since they could not agree, I said, this is the issue that needs to be dealt with by the court. But in the meantime, let the envelope remain as it is. It was not a question that on my own I invited the parties to come to me and I made a ruling. The parties wanted me to manage this issue, and the best way that I could do it was to say that there's still an issue here, let it be resolved by a court. I hope it's
no, I get wishes. No, the last point, DJ.
We as judges, we don't go out and invite.
No, I agree with that one. I agree with that one. You didn't invite those documents. But my worry is, and which is something we'll argue with colleagues, they will educate us. My worry is, we cannot seal such documents of high-profile matter through a letter. And even the second phase of the court, DJP, there was not going to be a court if we had not intervened. The matter was heard, those issues were, there was no separate process to go and make an application for the documents to be unsealed. If we didn't come in as the EFF and make a fresh application for those documents to be unsealed, which were not party to when they were sealed, then it means those things would have remained sealed, because there was no resolution that said, okay, let's proceed with this part. Then there's going to be part B, where the argument is going to be led on unsealing of documents. So those things were sealed, and if the third party had not intervened, they would have remained sealed. They remain sealed as we speak now. They are before the court because a third party came and said these things must be unsealed. So if we had not come in, they would have remained sealed because there was no outlined process of what's going to happen after sealing them. But it's a debate we'll have, and which I don't think it will cause any harm, because anyway the matter is before court now and we're awaiting.
And the order may go either way.
Absolutely.
Yes, Commissioner.
The last point is on the succession. If you had because I'm jealous of losing you to a higher court. Look, it is in our nature and even where we come from, to be humble as you are, that no, the court can run without me, it has been running without me, and all those type of things. The reality of the situation is that since you left there, it's no longer the same, especially the one who acted after you. It's no longer the same. The attitude and how people get to be treated there since you left, it's not the same. So that warmth, that type of cooperation is no longer there. We litigate in that court, you will know, half the time, because that's the seat of the administration of our government. So, and ordinarily, if such a discussion took place between you and JP, and there was that type of brotherhood, perhaps you should have persuaded JP to be the one that comes here, so that there is a proper succession. Because when you got appointed, at the back of our mind, since I joined this commission, we appoint DJPs with that understanding that if anything happens, they must take over. Now it is the other way around, and I think it was not well considered. I mean, JP can do very well as a member of the Constitutional Court, you know, and you remain there running things and appointing someone else.
And sealing.
And unsealing, no, you unseal. And you unseal what you have sealed yourself.
I understand your comments, Commissioner Malema, and maybe there's something that I'll think about. But at the end of the day, this body will decide as to what should happen with the application that I've brought before you.
Thank you, CJ. Thank you, DJP.
Thank you, Honorable Malema. Maybe just to pull the JP's leg, I invited him to come and act, and he didn't.